are in the magnificent city of Ephesus, the first of the 7 churches that are mentioned in Revelation chapters 2 and 3. And behind me here we have a map of this ancient, huge city, the 4th largest city in the Roman Empire. You can see here the entryway into the city. We're going to walk down this way and then come around this direction here. This is the ancient harbor area. You can see the ruins behind me along the mountain of Pion, where the theater was built into the mountain over here. And this is just a magnificent site that Paul spent 3 years at as he began to establish the church in Asia. This was the mother church from which the others were eventually settled and were eventually brought into fruition here in this part of the world. We're standing in front of the Celsus Library, one of the 3 largest libraries in the world. After Alexandria and Pergamum comes the Celsus Library, built in the 2nd century. Next to it is a gate built by 2 former slaves of Caesar Augustus, Mithridates and Mazaeus, who built this in honor of their former patron because he gave them freedom. They became very wealthy merchants, including here at Ephesus, and built this gate in honor of him and the royal family, Augustus's family, including Agrippa and Livius and Julia. This was a very, very important site, and it also connects Augustus with the time of Christ, who was the emperor when Jesus was born, who issued the census when all of the people from all the realm, the Roman Empire, had to go back to their birthplaces, causing Joseph and Mary to come to Bethlehem. This is the same Augustus, and allows us to see the connections between these various cities in the Roman period. We're standing in the theater in Ephesus, a theater that sat 25,000 people in ancient times, a very magnificent city of 250,000 people. And it was in this theater that Paul was they wanted to drag Paul to this theater in order to bring him into trial or bring him into disrepute, because it was in this theater that Demetrius, the silversmith, thought that the Artemision and the sale of the small silver figurines that he made of Artemis, the Diana, the goddess that was worshipped here in Ephesus for so many hundreds of years, was under disrepute due to Christianity. Paul had such a powerful influence here in this place that Christianity overwhelmed the mythical views of ancient Greek and Roman culture, that even the Artemisian religion was threatened. In this place, they cried out, "Great is Diana, goddess of the Ephesians, great is Diana, goddess of the Ephesians," for 2 hours. But today, all we see is an empty theater. It's filled with tourists who are visiting an ancient ruined site. Today, the temple of Artemis, the Artemisian, one of the 7 wonders of the ancient world, no longer is here. It has been destroyed. It is just a quarry today where sheep come and where they graze and where they drink some water. Where is Artemis today? Where is Diana, the great goddess, today? Jesus Christ came to change lives for eternity. Jesus Christ came to save lives and to break the superstitions of these ancient religions. And it is the Christ of today that continues to rule in this world and in this universe. And the world continues to be affected and changed because of the great power of Jesus. What a wonderful thing to reflect upon as we're here in Ephesus, calling out the continuation of the great proclamation of the gospel message. Standing in a baptistry in the Church of St. John in Ephesus. This is where John was buried, and this is evidence here in this baptistry of baptism by immersion very early on in church history. We find these kinds of baptismal structures here in Ephesus in 2 places, one here and one in the Church of St. Mary down in Ephesus itself. And then we find them all over the world, really. In the early church, this is how people would baptize. They would come down and completely immerse the person in the water, just as John the Baptist did in the New Testament. Later on, church tradition changed, and they started baptizing by sprinkling. And when the Protestant Reformation began, they rediscovered that Jesus and the apostles and John the Baptist baptized by immersion, and they went back to that. The Anabaptists were perhaps the most famous group, but they were heavily persecuted for trying to follow the biblical way of baptism by immersion.